I'm just about to start.
You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Agent Carter fans! Are you ready? There it is. To talk about Agent Carter, episode 8, the season finale.
Where did the time go, man?
I know. It went away so quickly.
Makes me sad.
Quickly.
But I mean, it's been an amazing 8 weeks?
It's been an amazing 7 weeks.
7
well, we had 1 week off. Either way, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this. Thank you for tuning in all season long. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV for this and all of your favorite AfterBuzz TV podcasts. You can also find us on iTunes and SoundCloud. You can tweet at us during and after the show using the hashtag ABTV Agent Carter. And you can tweet at me at that Zach Wilson. And you can also tweet at my awesome panel, Megan Salinas.
Hey guys, you can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin.
Stef Z.
And you guys can tweet at me at IAMSTFZ.
You guys can tweet at me at Steve Kaufmann. That's KAUFMANN. It should be right below you. Please tweet at me.
Yes, Steve Kaufmann. I don't know how you guys felt at the end of this season, because my main thought was, I'm impressed at how fast this show got better and better and better. Because when I think back to episodes 2 and 3, I'm like, those were good. Good. But compared to to episode 7 and 8, these were out of this world. It almost makes those look like they're great, but they're not stellar. Because those were just, it got so good.
This show.
Yeah, it got so good. It kind of it was ended in a good way, and I feel whole and complete, but I kind of feel like, crap, what would it, episodes 9 and 10 and 11, if it was, 13 regular episodes most seasons have or whatever, where would it have gone? How good would it have gotten?
I mean, I know we have time, but what I think it was the short amount of time that we did have it that forced them to be that good. They only had 8 episodes to tell a story arc, where a lot of other series get 13 or 26 to tell, that story. Yeah. So there's really no time to kind of, play around with filler episodes. They had to get straight to the heart of it.
It was just non-stop.
Awesomeness.
But guys, before we dig deeper into this episode, I want to give you I want to just really quickly talk about another show on ABC that's coming out called American Crime. Guys, what if your son was murdered? What if your daughter was arrested? Your child framed? Where does the truth lie? One crime will affect so many lives in the television event of the year. I'm, of course, talking about ABC's new groundbreaking TV series, American Crime, which will premiere on Thursday, March 5th at 10/9 Central on ABC, one of our favorite networks because of all of their wonderful programming. This series is created by John Ridley, who's the Oscar-winning screenwriter of 12 Years a Slave. It stars Felicity Huffman and Timothy Hutton and centers around issues such as race, class, and gender politics, not unlike our own Agent Carter very much. Be sure to check out American Crime on ABC starting Thursday, March 5th at 10/9 Central.
Oh, it's going to be a great one.
I'm excited about this
It's going to be a fun show. It's got a really great writer, so it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Speaking of Timothy Hutton and the Oscars, Timothy Hutton, I believe, is the youngest person to have ever won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar. He was 20 years old for Ordinary People.
Wow.
Nice.
I'm just excited too because the show actually, which is another great ABC show in that time slot now, is How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah.
So if you've been watching that, you've kind of been like, Thursday nights, I need to watch.
Yeah, but you
so
know
now
where
it'll be
I am?
replaced by another great show.
Yeah, but every week, forever, basically, I'm on ABC on Tuesdays at 9.
Right.
For agents, whatever agent show they want to give us.
Agents of the SSR.
I'm in.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter.
Yeah, but so let's just go right there. I love at the top. We got Ralph Garman back.
Yes, fellow podcaster Ralph Garman.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Ralph Garman. So the moment his face is shown on TV, I got real excited.
You cheered.
I did.
Well, it was so because
did.
we've been waiting for
Yes.
it. We've been waiting for it since the pilot to see more Captain America radio show.
And he had mentioned publicly that they brought him back, so we knew we were going to get more.
Well, what I loved about, especially at the end when you think back to it, they gave us in the radio show the exact moment that we then were dealing with at the end of the episode. It was a perfect bookend.
Well, and it's a perfect parallel to the end of Captain America as well.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly where she is at the end of Captain America, is pleading with somebody over the radio as he's about to fly to his death.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for Captain America: First Avenger. If you have somehow
sorry.
watched Agent Carter without that knowledge.
You're right, I should have tweeted it at you.
But yeah, some people are in the chat room saying for new Agent Carter.
Yes!
We want,
Can that? Because that hasn't been official.
we'll get into that when we get. Well, we have some news and gossip later in the show, and we also have a poster giveaway to talk about later in the show. We'll show it.
Okay,
Don't worry.
okay,
Just
I'm jumping the gun.
stick around. Stick around. But yeah, so we got Ralph Garman giving us that little hint. It was a great bookend to this episode and a great bookend to the show because we got it in the first episode and in the last episode. It was just great all around. And then we jump into where we left off last week with the massive, I guess you could call it a mass murder in a way.
Yeah.
47 people.
Dead.
Ugh.
Killed each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eyes gouged out. Ugh.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
It was super gnarly. Initially we all thought item 17 was some type of toxin. We were like, oh, they're just gonna poison a room of people. And that's pretty gnarly and sadistic. But we found something worse.
Right.
Which was no, it brings about psychosis, and those people killed each other. That's so gnarly.
In some ways, it's even more horrible. I mean, I'm not saying that using biological warfare isn't horrible in and of itself, but there's something just one little extra level of devious with that.
Yeah, it's not like we're not just only gonna kill you, we're gonna make you kill each other.
Well, it's one thing to get killed by a monster, or a villain. It's one thing for Red Skull to shoot you down, but to have your friends and allies poisoned to rip out as Fenoff goes into towards the end of this episode, to rip out your eyes, to bite into you, to literally bite into you,
and be torn limb from limb.
And
it's really gruesome.
Who thinks of that?
Yes, you're in this violent rage, but just I have to think based on how Sousa was conscious later of what he was doing as one of the few people to ever survive the gas. He must have been they must know intellectually what they're doing, even if they can't stop it, making it even worse. Because even if you're the one doing the harm, you are aware that you're hurting somebody that you love or respect or are friends with, or potentially has saved your life if it's a soldier.
Yeah,
it's a devastating thing to think about.
That's something that always gets me with kind of mind control tropes, is when somebody's doing something, they can't stop it, but they're consciously aware.
Yeah.
There's an extra level of unpleasant and uncomfortable.
That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, just gruesome.
Yeah. It's pretty yeah.
But so at this point, they're trying to deal with it. Sousa gets gassed. I thought, and then we go into Howard Stark arrival. And what did you guys think of Howard Stark coming back? I mean, he kind of has to at this point, right?
That was a really funny entrance. Poor Jarvis. He's just continually embarrassed.
I love Jarvis. I think he's my favorite character.
I do love Jarvis here. And at the end of the episode, we all got very concerned for Jarvis.
Yeah. Not concerned. More like he's so rad. I don't know. He's kind of my hero.
Jarvis?
Yeah.
I mean, Jarvis in this episode shows some amazing backbone.
Yes.
He shows that he is more than, like, even in the comics, like, you still think of him, and I'm talking about the version that's, like, even still alive in the books, not the future MCU mechanical Jarvis. He's a butler. He does some cool stuff every now and again, but he is a butler. This is Jarvis, a hero Jarvis.
That's what I mean. Like, he would completely define himself that he's just not, the butler, and even more so the servant. Like, he doesn't just do what everyone else tells him to do and clean up everyone else's messes. He's there to, like, help.
Yeah, he's his own person with his own sense of integrity.
Yes. More integrity than maybe Howard Stark might have.
A lot more.
I would say at this point, especially at this point, definitely more integrity than Howard Stark.
Trying to be nice because I'm a Howard Stark.
No, I mean, look.
Don't do anything to hurt me.
Yeah.
Was it Erica, Allison?
Oh my God, that was kind of super funny.
That was that was a much needed comic relief.
Oh, it was very needed. Because that was super like. The entire third act of this episode was just super serious. And
I have a question though. Did we know, and maybe I missed this, but right before this, like when Howard comes back, he knows that Faustus is, or whatever we want to call him, that he is wants Howard. Now, does he know because of Finau, or does he not know that until they capture him? He doesn't know that. He just knows that that's who he wants. Like he's the target, not really the SSR or Peggy.
I think
when they found out what was stolen, that's when kind of everything fell into place.
Yeah,
I think.
And I think it played into what Fenoff found out, that deep inside he feels really really guilty about what happened in Finau. That facing that this is all about Finau, his idea was that if I need to be the bait and I need to die,
then
that's okay because I feel terrible about Finau. It's it seems to be one of his biggest regrets.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the interesting thing as we go through, and I won't bother recapping. We'll go through the events, but real quick, Howard, of course, we have a fun scene with him dealing with his babies, the bad babies in there, and then all the stuff that leads up to his kidnapping. But when Howard is being hypnotized, I was genuinely surprised. Not surprised that it threw me off because it fits perfectly. That his biggest regret, as terrible as Finau is, as terrible as anything he might have done during the war is, that he's responsible for, and he absolutely feels a ton of guilt about Finau. His biggest regret is losing Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why he does, have that. We see him say he doesn't really care what people think about him, but he cares what Peggy thinks about him. And I think that's exactly why. Although, one thing we kind of skipped over was I thought it was hilarious when they were doing the press conference and Thompson was talking and Howard Stark was beating him and saying, tell him I'm a hero. Tell him.
And he can't even stomach
his character. Yeah, I love his character so much. But yeah, I definitely think that he, has come to terms with that. Captain America is the biggest situation for him that he'd like to rectify.
Yeah, and again, because he cares so much about Peggy as well, that's something that, immediately filled into the fantasy that the Doctor was creating for him, was because he cares about her and he obviously respects her. And the fact that she was there in that, and she's bring him home, basically for her, too.
Right.
So, that just says a lot about where his sense of guilt comes from as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to pose a question to you guys. Do you think when he dug into when Faustus or Fenoff let's just call him Fenoff for the sake of argument, since we never really heard the name Dr. Faustus. When Fenoff digs into his brain, like what his biggest regret is, if it had been Finau, do you think he would have still gone through with the plan?
That's interesting.
I think it would have been something entirely different. It would have been something, just the fantasy would have been different. It would have been like, hop in this plane and you can fix it.
Yeah, like hop in this plane and you can like drop them stuff that they need after this disaster, like relief from.
Or I guess it would be Howard. They're raiding your lab. Come and save them.
Well, of course,
course,
the fantasy is different if he goes that route. But what I'm saying is, he's going after Howard because Howard is responsible for the events at Finau, right? He said this is very much a revenge story.
Right.
If Howard is truly, this is his biggest regret in life, is what happened there. Like, obviously, any sane person, this doctor is an intelligent person. Like, he's acting irrationally, sure, but he's an intelligent person. He knows that Howard Stark did not intentionally go after these people. He did not intentionally make a weapon here. Does he take anything back? Like, because if the person he wants revenge on is truly, utterly sorry and has tried to make up for it, you think he still goes for it?
I think Leviathan's too big. I think Leviathan is a pretty big and grand plan. But, like, between him and Howard Stark, it's a matter of this.
Even if he is sorry, like, because he says it, he can't express his regret and grief over what happened. At the end of the day, this is still the man who is responsible for his brother's horrible, horrific death.
Yes.
So I think just on a personal level, maybe on an intellectual level he would understand, but I think just on a personal level, he's like, no, you are a bad person. You know, regardless of your intentions, what you did, your choices resulted in all of these people being massacred.
Which is really interesting. Like, how do you guys feel about it? Like, taking that to the next level almost. It's like, if you create something that could be so terrible, like, are you really responsible? You know what I mean? Like, is Howard, like, granted it got stolen, it got used in a way that wasn't his intention, but if you create this weapon of quote-unquote mass destruction, and you know that this is what could possibly happen, why would you not destroy, like, why keep it?
I guess because you never know what use it could be. I mean, I'm a bit the same way, like, because I produce a lot of sketch comedy, and, like, I have so many props in my house that like chef aprons and do-rags and like
you never know when
wands.
They're gonna come back in handy.
Yeah, because you never know what random sketch you're gonna do that you might need it. And just so Howard, I think, is much the same way. You never know when you might need an anger bomb. You never know when you might need something that's going to electrocute, or when he's going to have a brainstorm to fix it to make it do what it was supposed to do.
Even if it's a horrible, dangerous, potentially unstable device, it's something that, just in the name of science, could eventually lead to another breakthrough, because science is essentially all trial and error. So it could eventually lead to something even better than what it was originally intended for.
I would just think that someone like Howard Stark, if he knew what it's possible of, and I get that people stole it from him, but like, you would think that it would be in a more secure place.
I think that's why it feeds into what happens at the end of this episode. He's just like, F it.
Also,
you just got to destroy them all.
And do scientists eventually perfect midnight oil to not give you psychosis? And is that what Red Bull is?
Well, it's so funny too, because there's a song, like, I can't get the song, I can't get the Midnight Oil song, Beds Are Burning, out of my head, which is just like this visual of like, no, they're always going to hear the song differently now. But yeah, that's crazy.
There's a question in the chat roll just on this topic. So was the from Brian Vera Sanchez, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing any part of your name. So was this whole attack from the Doctor and Dottie against Howard just purely revenge? But more so, is Leviathan still out there seeking revenge? The lore seeker says maybe there wasn't a Leviathan at all.
Like it's just these two on their own little vendetta quest?
No, I think it's clear that there was at some point definitely a Leviathan. Is that all Is that all Fenoff?
No, I think there's a Leviathan.
Okay.
I think there's definitely a Leviathan, and it was one of my predictions, but I'll make it boldly now. I think they have Winter Soldier.
They're just hanging on to him.
They're hanging on to
like
him.
it.
I think this is how
Zola gets
Zola.
off.
I think this is how Zola gets him.
Oh. That's great. That's great.
Because Zola didn't get him when we lost him at the first movie. I think this is how Zola gets him through Fenoff.
Yeah,
Fenoff pretty much becomes
Why
Hydra.
didn't they just kill him or rip his tongue out?
I'm with you. Why couldn't you permanently? And maybe there's a human rights thing, but like, why couldn't you permanently make sure
I think it's a human rights thing. I think there's like a certain amount that like completely removing it forever. That's like an ultimate punishment
Right.
versus like.
But that makes me pissed at Sosa, because he had the opportunity just to shoot him.
But he was.
Sousa's not
he
the-
was
that's not
fine.
Sousa.
Like you gotta drag.
We didn't know it at the time, but he was perfectly safe given the
But
situation.
that's not. Sousa's not the type
yeah.
to just not
Right.
to shoot someone without due
I mean,
process.
the
like
doctor had it pegged. He's not the type to shoot an unarmed man.
Yeah.
Right.
And it fits the timeline perfectly. Like Winter Soldier going to the
Yeah.
Russians, getting the little star on his shoulder,
I
you know,
think-
and then coming into the fold of Hydra, but with Zola, who we know eventually is in underground Shield computer.
At some
Weird.
point, well, at some point he works for the SSR. We know this. We know that at some point,
Yeah.
and this actually mirrors real life, where a bunch of Nazi scientists were hired in real life.
Yeah.
In like the 50s.
It fits really well. It fits in so neatly that I think you have to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And it's a great teaser towards season 2, if we get one, to build to how Zola gets in there, because then we get to see.
Well, then we get to see
gotta
Shield
get
get
one.
formed.
Yeah,
If we
we
get
still
a
haven't
season,
seen that.
if we
Yeah.
get it, I have 2 theories on a season 2 of Agent Carter. One is more a hope that if we get a season 2 of Agent Carter, it should be Agent Carter forming Shield. For some reason, something has to happen to the SSR where it can form Shield. And 2, it doesn't have to be 1946 again.
No, they could jump us.
It could be 1955. It could be 1974. Like it can.
It can be anything.
Agent Carter is in, and I'm okay with that if we don't get to see Agent Carter form Shield. Like if we join her and it's 1974 and the Shields are wrong show and Shield is already happening. And Shield is already happening, and she's just an agent for Shield and a co-founder of Shield, and it's 1974, and she's dealing with that. I'm all game. I'm all board.
Well, Shield is bubbling under the surface this whole time. Much like, I know I'm always wearing my red fedora 40 stuff, but underneath I've got Shield. Anyone watching at home, just listening, I am wearing a Shield t-shirt under my 40s clothes.
Well done.
You
red
had a
fedora.
great T-shirt too, man.
On a roll.
Game.
Oh, we actually have a couple comments on the hashtag via Twitter.
Oh, yes.
One is from drummergirl_MDE. She wants to know, or he wants to know, I'm not sure. I'm going to guess girl.
They.
What was your favorite part of the episode, in this episode and the series? So,
Favorite part of the series?
yeah, favorite part of this episode and then favorite part of the series
My favorite
as a
part
whole.
of this episode has to be Carter fighting Dottie.
Kicking her out the
Yeah.
window.
Who I'm just gonna start calling Dottie Black Widow until someone corrects me.
You know,
her.
I
She's
think
at the very least, she's
I'll,
codenamed Black Widow.
I think I'll correct you only because there is no confirmation that she is, and so
That's fair.
until then, I think it's a great theory. I believe you. She's just Dottie.
I think
crazy
we're gonna,
old Dottie.
I also think Age of Ultron is going to tell us.
Here's hoping that we get some official confirmation.
I think
Yeah.
I think this is tying very tightly into.
Into the Red Room, everything with
Yes.
Agent Romanoff. I buy it. My favorite part of this episode, we haven't gotten to it yet, but I honestly think it might be that last shot.
Yeah.
Not of Zola, before that,
Yeah,
like of Carter.
Carter finally
was a
saying
good one.
goodbye.
Because that was without. She didn't even need to say anything. I liked what she said, but she didn't even need to say anything. It was all there, and I thought it was a great moment.
Remind me, I have something to say on that. But I'll wait until
Yeah,
I'll wait until
we'll
losing
get more
gossips,
into
'cause
that.
That's way forward.
But my favorite moment in the series, I think, was in the bunker in Europe when Peggy just like is like, Thompson, get moving, and she's just like killing all those people and like owning the place.
That was an amazing episode.
Yeah.
I gotta say, my favorite part for this episode was her one-on-one with Jarvis at the end, and Angie. That entire scene from beginning to end was a nice wrap-up and a lot of great character development. Favorite moment in the series? Not gonna lie, it's probably a tie between the Howling Commandos coming back in and the diner fight. I loved that diner fight.
That diner fight was
funny.
boss.
Jarvis with the tray.
Yeah, it just had everything I want in this series.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with that. Jarvis with the tray was one of the. I love
So
Jarvis.
adorable.
Yeah, I really love Jarvis. And in this episode, when she kicked Dottie out the window, I mean, it was such a great move and a great fight. But as soon as you saw her fall on the wing, you knew that there was more, and you knew she was gonna go away. So that made me think season 2, which made me very happy because they've left so many. Like, they wrapped it up for us, but they also left so many loose ends. So I think it's just... I mean, there's got to be a season 2 of this. I mean, just...
I want it.
I think it's going to happen. I'd bet on it.
If it's going to happen, it's gonna be all the information is gonna be integral to where we are this time next year, which will be Ant-Man. We'll be leading into Ant-Man, so I think we really need a season 2.
Next year.
This time next year... Ant-Man is next summer, right?
No, Ant-Man's this summer.
Ant-Man is this summer. I need to look at a calendar.
Ant-Man's coming in, like, what is it, May?
Okay.
Coming up there
then
pretty
July?
soon.
I can't
what's,
remember.
What's next summer?
Next summer is Cap 3.
Civil War? Okay,
Yeah.
then this will...
Wait,
It's
no,
Salinas.
May
Okay,
is...
yeah, everyone's-
May is Ultron.
May is Ultron, and then Ant-Man's afterwards.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ant-Man is like later this summer. Okay.
Yeah.
Give us it's late.
Yeah. I don't have it all written down in front of me.
And also, one more thing from Twitter. Did everybody say? Everybody get
Yes,
their...
my favorite moment of the series is probably her dumping Cap's blood.
It's a good scene. We got one more. Andrew Fedge on Twitter wants you to know that people in the chat are plotting to steal your hat. We may want to assign you extra security.
I saw some of the plotting. They're organized. They already started a private Facebook group that you're not allowed to see.
Oh no.
I think that's what we
watch
should
my
do.
back.
If there's a season 2, which we're all hoping for, we get another hat, and that will be the raffle or the winning thing. Like we've got a poster. This
You guys are gonna have to live with the poster.
Someone
But
in the chat just said Agent Carter season 2 confirmed. I'm going to confirm the confirmed because I'd like to know that.
I would like to believe that.
I would like to too.
Anyone, if you have the internet, hit us with a link real quick so we can talk
I'm on
about
top
it.
of that.
But while we do
cite
that,
your source, internet.
while we do that, I want to give some shout outs. I want to give some shout outs
shout-outs.
on for iTunes. And guys, we talk about it all the time, but don't skip it because it really is important that you go onto iTunes, especially while we're talking about this renewal stuff. You wouldn't be amazed at how much these networks actually pay attention to Twitter, to Facebook, to what you say, to the podcast. They really do pay attention to your feedback on stuff like this. If they see that Agent Carter podcasts like this one, and I think that we are the #1 Agent Carter podcast, at least we are in my heart. You guys are our #1 fans for sure, but it really does make a difference when they see how much you're engaged. Guys, we got 42 reviews to this point, or 42 ratings to this point on the podcast, 27 reviews in just 8 episodes, just 7 weeks of shows. And that means a whole lot to us. And I want to give some shout outs to the folks who wrote in this past week. Jason Cage says, great cast, 5 stars. Did you guys notice the next episode is called the season finale, not series? Thanks for making my workday even more enjoyable. Yes, no one is calling it series finale yet. Let's hope.
Including the showrunners who have said we have no definite plans, but there are many threads in Agent Carter that we could undo.
Stealth 8604 says, I like what you are doing. I like how you are commenting and on the events involving Peggy Carter's life and point out details I failed to see. My dad and I watch the TV show and find it's a good way we bond together because we share our own conspiracy theories with each other. As for any predictions, I theorize that by the time the last episode comes, it will show Peggy during her life starting out as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. We didn't get that yet, but I think that I would also love to see that. Although I don't think she's ever the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. That would be awesome, but I think history, as we've seen, does not point there.
No.
Director Carter, just let the ring of that sink in.
Who else would be then?
Stark. It would be Stark for a while.
And is
Stark,
Thompson...
wink.
And is Thompson's in charge of the SSR now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Without he's next in line. That just happens so quickly.
I think Carter may be in the role of running a lot of it, but I don't think she'll be the director.
It doesn't matter who's actually the director. We know who's in charge.
Yeah, we know who makes stuff happen.
She points out, P.S., if you aren't aware, the woman who plays Dottie was in the show that aired years ago, The Legend of the Seeker, which I remember watching that show because a girl I liked watched that show. That was an interesting show. And last up, Battle Girl Deb says, had a great time, 5 stars. I have loved this AfterBuzz show. Thanks for being there, and here's hoping that this show will come back for a season 2.
Yes. Hashtag renew Agent Carter.
Yes.
I'm making that happen right now.
Keep tweeting it, guys. Let's dive back in because we talked a lot about Howard Stark in this episode. We talked a little bit about Jarvis. Let's talk about Agent Carter. Because her journey in this episode is very much just she's trying to follow through on what Dooley tasked her with. She had a big thing to deal with going in here. She has to figure out who did this and stop them. So they start with the gas, and her big moments really come. We spent a lot of time focusing on Howard Stark at the beginning of this episode because he was new, he was back.
Yeah, and he's been gone for a while.
Yeah, so we had to. But it all led up to some amazing moments towards the end where she's, I mean, we got the fight with Dottie. Because she's tracking Dottie, and we're like, we're waiting for like.
I actually thought it was going to be a little longer, I'm not going to lie.
It did feel very short.
Yeah.
And again, there's just so much you have to, cram into one episode for the season finale.
And if it were any longer, it would be unbelievable. It would be unbelievable that Dottie gets back up.
Yeah. And we actually talked to one of the stunt guys on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. towards the end of the first season, and he says that a lot of times that, stuff that they work on for hours and hours ends up getting cut for time. So it could be that the fight was longer and that we just didn't have time. Which is unfortunate because it would have been awesome to have it be a little longer. But I wish you guys could. I almost wish we had a live feed for our reactions as we're watching it, because you guys would love seeing how into it we get because we're cheering like get her.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that moment where she hits her with the baseball bat, when Carter goes down and Dottie hits her on the back with that bat, which if it's in Stark's hangar, that bat's probably signed by like Mickey Mantle or somebody. But when she comes down, it hurt. Yeah. It hurt us, and we all just realized, oh man! I think I swore very loudly.
Yeah, I definitely swore.
But yeah, it was a great fight scene. I loved that. Like, Dottie's got a knife. She's coming out, and what does Carter pick up? A scarf. And you're just like, I know it's a scarf, but she's gonna murder you.
It's a scarf with Agent Carter.
Yeah, that's all she needs. She doesn't need. She doesn't need no knife. She doesn't need no gun. She just needs a scarf.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great fight scene, and then. What did you guys think, honestly? Like when we see Dottie go out the window, we look over and we see her lying on the wing. What did you guys think? Dead? Not dead?
I thought not dead.
I thought dead. I'll be honest.
I think I screamed it aloud. Actually, I was like, "This isn't over."
Yeah, you did.
I thought dead up until the second they cut away, because, you know, with head wounds are pretty bad, and I think her leg was bent in like a weird way. So it did look pretty bad, but then when you cut away and you don't have like some sort of close-up of the dead body, you know, and even when you do, I mean, it's a comic book series, no body, they're not dead. So for a moment I thought she was dead, but then they cut away and it's like, oh yeah, no, this isn't over.
You know, I thought it was way too quick, like, for her just to be dead and gone. Like, Dottie wouldn't go out like that.
Yeah, especially for, as you mentioned, fight being that quick.
Yeah.
That would have been a really weird way
It's
to
a
send
rough
off
fall.
that character.
Like, she's still a human.
Yeah. Well,
As far as
don't
we
know.
As far as we know.
no, I mean, she seems like she's probably just pretty human. I mean, the fact that, like, that much blood, I assumed she was dead. I mean, there's always, with anything Marvel, especially death, there's always that voice in the back of your head,
Yep.
like, you're probably not dead.
Even when there is a body, you're still like, I don't know.
I mean, you
Right.
could literally see them not have a pulse. They literally are dealing with Captain America's death in this one, like, where he just died. Like, he fell into a bottomless ocean of ice. Like, it is still Marvel.
Again,
but,
different rules.
But I thought she was dead. I did.
We do have another tweet, again from Andrew. He says that he was amazed and happy that even in the middle of a fight, we got some character development for Dottie.
Yes.
Yeah?
That's a very interesting thing to point out.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, it's always good, the flashback where we see her, like, seducing
Ida! That was it.
That was amazing. I love that scene. I love that there's always, like, a comic relief to these episodes, which is kind of nice.
Again, much needed.
Actually,
occasion.
another tweet I just saw. It's kind of on topic. Kira at IMKHV, isn't Colonel Phillips, Tommy Lee Jones' characters in the first Captain America, part of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Maybe he's in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. I would love to see Tommy Lee Jones in anything.
Yeah.
Marvel. I would love to see. I would love to see
come back.
I would love to see Colonel Phillips come back in anything at all. Web series? Can we just have a Colonel Phillips like two?
I think we're all agreed that we're all pro Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
Say that's a safe bet.
But he was pretty old in Captain America 1, then it makes sense that
That he would retire.
it makes sense that he retired. Like, after what he went through in Captain America 1, it would make sense that man retires.
Getting too old for this stuff.
So as we go on with Peggy's story, then we have her dealing with trying to talk Howard down. Like, we know that, like, they were able to talk Dooley down, at least to get him to come back to them for a moment. But yeah, this was. You can feel for Howard in this moment where he's flying there and he's convinced that he can save his friend, and he, as he puts it, like his greatest accomplishment. I can't find the quote on my sheet.
The one thing he did that brought goodness into the world.
Yes, as for someone who created weapons and a lot of terrible things, caused those deaths at Finnow, the one good thing, the thing that he could never take, they could never take away what he did was Project Rebirth, bringing Captain America into this world. Right. And he's proud of it, and like, so he's convinced that he can save it, and at this, like. And that's something I think that the reason that Peggy is eventually able to connect with him is because she knows what that feeling is. She knows the draw that he has to trying to bring him back.
Yeah, and because for them, even though, you know, Peggy acknowledges that they need to move on, I mean, at the end of Captain America 1, Howard was dedicated to finding him, because they never even found the wreckage, and Stark was determined to find him.
He found the Tesseract and kept going.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, that's nice. Whatever. Let's get back to work, people.
The major plot point of Phase 1. All right, let's keep looking for Captain America. Thanks.
Whatever, it's just a MacGuffin. But yeah, so and there's also the possibility, again, with them, no body means no closure.
Yes.
So there was always that possibility that Steve could have been saved, even though that's not something that they could do. And the sad thing is that if they had looked in the right place, they might have found him.
Yeah, but I mean, he crashed under ice.
Yeah.
Like they only find him once they have like submarines checking out there, and like, or like that's the survey teams with like massive sonar equipment. But yeah, so that was a great sequence. Jarvis like putting it all on the line, and like, but it was only at the end there when Jarvis comes to Peggy with the blood. We really get this heartfelt moment where we learn something really strong about Jarvis and Peggy's relationship. Like they have a stronger bond than than him and Howard. Rather.
And he has more integrity than Howard.
Yeah. He does not own my integrity.
But go ahead.
No, go ahead. Somebody brought up something really interesting on Twitter, but you go ahead.
I think that Jarvis, it's not that. I mean, yes, I think maybe he has more integrity, but I don't think that it's a Howard versus Peggy thing. It's a what's right type thing. Like, he knows that it would be wrong for Howard to go and destroy New York, so he's willing to take Howard down. But I don't think he would ever really turn on Howard if the situation was different. And he knows that it's right for Peggy to have the blood, so that's what he's going to do. Like, he just wants to make it right, but I don't know that he has, a Peggy versus Howard who he, likes more or whatever.
Yeah, but then let's talk about, because we're starting to come towards the end of our time here. Not right away. We still have plenty of time. We still have time. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. But I want to talk before we get to that point. I want to talk about Captain America's blood, because that's what he hands her. That's what he gives her. And then what she does with it says so much. Although, hold on, before we get there, we need to talk about Angie. Angie!
Oh, Angie.
Angie's back.
Because Sousa, I apologize that I'm backtracking a little bit because I almost forgot. Sousa asking her out. Oh, poor Sousa.
Yeah.
She didn't say no. She had plans that day, but you saw the expression on her face. She was very happy to get that invitation.
I think she was happy to get it, but I also don't. Well, I guess she did have plans. She was like, I have to meet a friend. And I yelled out, Angie! I knew she was coming back. I love that they're staying. They have a mansion to themselves now.
I want them to be the dynamic duo, and I want them to solve mysteries and go on adventures.
Well, I imagine Howard Stark probably has some connections. I bet he can get her some good auditions.
We had a couple people in the chat. I don't remember which chat it was, if it was Twitter or the actual live chat, but a couple people were like, Angie needs to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Yeah.
I was seeing that a couple places where I don't know about a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
But she needs to stick around.
We need more
I
agents.
mean, you need to have planted S.H.I.E.L.D. agents everywhere. She can be working in the theater and be a sleeper.
She could be intel for the S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well,
exactly.
And not every S.H.I.E.L.D. agent has to be, the type of person to beat other people up. You can be a scientist.
Of course, I want that. A lot of me wants that. But then it compromises that Peggy, has this safe place friend that's not intertwined with anything. I feel like Angie's her go-to, and will more so even be in the way it's been set up.
That's true. She does need that support because Angie's literally the only person outside of the SSR she can confide in.
Right, and Angie knows now, back to the scene where she's outside on the building. Angie knows, but it's never been, shown that they've had, this big conversation about it. So that would be interesting to see, how much Angie gets to know.
Yeah.
But
that would be fun to see that develop. Slowly by slowly, Peggy lets her in on everything that's going on.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I was waiting for Sousa to drop something like, I never told you Captain America saved my life, and blah, blah, blah. That would confirm that he's her baby daddy.
That would, or a piece. We could get a piece that.
That could be they could be saving that because you don't know what's going to happen if you do more.
Well,
but they reveal in Cap 2 that whoever she does eventually marry was somebody that Captain America saved during the war in Europe.
In Europe specifically.
And the only time they ever bring up how Sousa got injured, he completely avoided the subject. So
it's still open. It's still open. But we're running low on time, so I want to move forward so we have time to talk about the last scene for Peggy.
Yeah.
Where she's at the bridge and like she takes out the blood and she pours it into the river.
It was a little Titanic, wasn't it?
A little bit. And like the Brooklyn Bridge is like the love bridge. Like so many people get proposed to on that bridge. I thought that was very symbolic. Yeah.
And then the Bing Crosby song.
Yeah.
That was, I know that feel. That was.
But it was the second piece of, when she was talking Howard down and she was saying, like, we have to let Steve go. Like, is she really trying to do that now? Maybe.
Yeah, no, I think this is how she moves on.
Yeah, I think so.
This is her burial. They never got a burial.
Right.
They didn't have a body to bury. A lot of they had to. This was her saying goodbye. This is her truly letting go, and mixed in with the sunset in the background. It's like you could have done it at any time. You could have, but putting it at sunset is just a perfect close to a season. Close to her emotions towards Steve. Not that it's ever going away, but like a close to that relationship's journey.
Well, and the entire, since the moment this blood was revealed, she's referred to this as her second chance. Her second chance to save him, her second chance to do right by him, and now she finally gets the chance to say goodbye. So.
Yeah.
Which I think was her plan all along. She just hasn't had the chance. Like and anytime she'd had the blood up before that, she was like elbow deep into a bunch of other stuff.
I don't know if she was ever planning on doing that. I think it was more single-minded than that. It was just like, I need to hang on to it. I need to protect him.
Yeah, you're right. I guess she finally learned to let go by the end of this episode.
All I know is that it made me sad.
Yeah, but guys, so real quick, I want to move into some news and gossip.
Yes.
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
Just really quick, we are running low on time, but I want to make sure you guys, I don't know if you guys heard the news today, because we've known before that Peggy Carter was going to appear in a flashback in Ant-Man.
Yes.
And we just got confirmation today, based on an Avengers Age of Ultron poster, that Haley Atwell will be appearing in Age of Ultron. We don't know. There are a couple crazy theories. There's, of course, the obvious that it would be some kind of flashback. It could be, like, I don't think we're going to get old Peggy again. That seems like that road is traveled. Or because the Infinity Stones have been introduced and are theoretically a thread until we eventually get to Infinity War in 2019 or whatever, that the Time Stone sends somebody back, that there's a time travel aspect to Age of Ultron where we run into Peggy.
This was what I was thinking in this touching scene with the blood, that she was finally moving on. I had this moment, and it's something Marvel would do and do well, is that they pan over in Cap's there. And then you just cut it there. Like, our heads would have exploded. There'd be no after show if that happened.
Or if there's something about DNA drawing you back. I mean, the crazy theories with the blood, like, I'm like, okay, so you've poured super soldier serum into the river. What fish ate a piece of that and is now like Fish Man in 19... or is maybe Namor is down there and this is like the weird MCU...
But I can actually confirm, only because I'm a weirdo who watched every frame of the first Age of Ultron trailer, that we see the back of Peggy Carter. And she's walking... And Captain America, and they're walking into a club. It looks 1940s era. So that's either a flashback or Steve Rogers has to go back in time and explain to Peggy Carter that he's from the year 2015. Going back in time to talk to her. I'm hoping that's
so confusing. I mean, in the short series Age of Ultron that they did a couple, like 2 years, it was a year ago, 2 years ago, in the comics, which is not supposed to have anything to do with the movie, it just shares a name. There's a lot of time travel involved. And in that book, it involves Hank Pym and Wolverine. But the craziness aside, okay, we can talk about Ultron all day. But so guys, I want to let's get this poster up here.
Let's do the poster.
Because guys, so here we have this cool, really cool poster that Megan brought us. It has Agent Carter on one side, and on the back, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So here's what we're gonna do, guys. I want you to, if you want to win this fantastic poster, you're gonna have to do a few things. I want you to go onto Twitter. You're gonna have to follow all 4 of us and AfterBuzz TV
and Jesse Klein, if you want.
and Jesse Klein, and all 5 of us.
I'm a good sub.
Follow us. So you're gonna have to put a review for Agent Carter on iTunes. Put your Twitter handle in that. I want to know what you guys thought of the show. What was your favorite moment in Agent Carter? Put your Twitter handle in there, and then tweet a picture of your review at us, and we will. And I can hear the booth. And then on next week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast on AfterBuzz TV, we will announce the winner, where you can join us. You can join me and Megan, where we will be continuing to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And with that, you guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for us here.
I know, it's so sad.
Yeah, we don't know if there's. We've discussed season 2 at this point, but that's good.
There's going to be one. We'll be back.
Yeah, we will be. If there is, you better believe we'll be back.
And the chat really wants you to give your hat away, Zach.
My hat? I'm not giving the hat away, you guys. I'm sorry. Like the post.
You should
go for the poster.
You need to find a link to where they can buy that hat.
I don't know. Just do your research, guys. Guys, thank you so much for joining us once again. We've said it so many times. Steve Kaufmann, where can people keep up with you after the show?
After the show, they can find me at Steve Kaufmann. That's Kaufmann. On Mondays, I host the Gotham podcast. On Wednesdays, I do Modern Family. On Thursdays, I do Suits. And every month, I do wrestling pay-per-views. I'm here a lot, usually in this chair.
Sweet.
Stef?
I don't know that I can top that, but I'm going to try. At IAMSTEFZ on Instagram and Twitter is where you guys can find me. I'm actually doing Thursday night, the season finale of How to Get Away with Murder. We started an awesome show, The Prisoner, which was, released over 45 years ago. So we're doing that show. And I think and I do Shark Tank as well. So check me out, follow me, and, tweet at me. I'll tweet you back.
All those things.
Megan Salinas.
You can follow me on Twitter at @themenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, including Star Wars Rebels, Sailor Moon Crystals, and a couple Spotlight Ons coming up.
Yeah, and I know you guys are talking about, what about Zola in the chat? We talked about Zola. We threw out some crazy theories about Zola. So just rewind a little bit.
Actually, there is one comment on Twitter that I want to mention. Alyssa Lopez, rewatching season 2 of AOS in prep for this return. In episode 3, Whitehall mentions the fastest method to comply, Agent 33.
Boom!
So,
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. And then with that, I
can't
think we're going to have to officially sign out, guys. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a blast of a show to host. I'm Zach Wilson. You can follow me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, ThatzachWilson, and also here at AfterBuzz, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next week when it returns. We're going to have so much fun on that show. You can also watch me on Grimm, Better Call Saul, and a whole bunch of others. Guys, for one last time, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz ya later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.